Hello everyone, it's Mrs. Phillips again, and I'm making you a video on William Penn. I'm so excited for William Penn because I absolutely love his story. So to begin with William Penn, I want to remind you of those pilgrims. Remember them? The pilgrims were very unhappy with the King of England, and the King of England was trying to control the way that they worshiped, where they went to church, and a bunch of things like that. And so those pilgrims, they decided to take that Mayflower all the way over and escape the rule of the King of England. So now we have a different group of people that have the same problem. They're called the Quakers. And the Quakers also disagreed with the king, and because they disagreed with the king, he made their life very difficult. So here are some of the beliefs of the Quakers. The Quakers, for example, wore very plain clothes. They didn't believe in wearing different colors, so most of their clothes were brown, black, or white. They didn't want to dress in any fancy way. Also, the word Quakers means friends. And because of this, they believed that they should treat everyone the same way, which means that you don't treat any one person better than another person. So for this reason, the Quakers would not bow to anyone. So, for example, when the king would arrive or show up, they would not bow to him because they refused to treat him any better than they would treat anybody else. I think it's kind of a cool belief to treat everybody the same. But this made the king very, very mad. To top it all off, something called the Bubonic plague hit England. This was very much like the virus that we have experienced, that it was spreading everywhere and people were dying right and left. And very much like now, the king gave the order, if somebody has this disease or has this plague, you may not go help them. You may not go to their house. If someone in your house has it, you kick them out or you leave. You can't help anybody who is sick. But the Quakers, they didn't believe that. They believed they needed to help everyone who was in need. So the Quakers continued to help people, even against the king's orders. And so they would go to those people's houses that were sick, and they would go and help them. And because of that, he would throw them into prison. Sounds very similar to the situations we're going around with right now, where we're told not to socialize with people. But the Quakers, if that happened, they would be the ones going out and helping people no matter what. And in walks William Penn. Now, while the Quakers were being imprisoned and sent to prison, he watched as they were kind to people. They treated people nicely. They were helping others, and he admired their beliefs. And William Penn actually became a Quaker. His parents, his father was definitely not a Quaker, but he decided to become a Quaker because he admired their beliefs. Well, William Penn's father was an admiral in the Navy, in the English Navy. And his father did not agree with William Penn becoming a Quaker. He was so mad that his son became a Quaker that he actually kicked him out of the house. He said, "Get out of here, leave, because you're a Quaker. I can't stand that. I don't agree with your beliefs." And one of the main reasons was because William Penn's father was a good friend of the king. So William Penn's dad was good friends with King Charles II. They were buddies. He was the admiral of the Navy and they were friends. And because of that, he could not accept that William Penn was a Quaker. Now, at one point in time, William Penn's dad actually he gave King Charles some money during a time when King Charles needed it. And because of that, King Charles actually owed William Penn's dad money. So he owed him a debt, all right? Unfortunately, William Penn's father died before the king ever repaid him. So, William Penn had a brilliant idea. He went before the king and basically said, "Hey, I have an idea." And the king was like, "Okay, let's hear it." William Penn says, "You really hate those Quakers, right?" And the king was totally, they're the worst. He hated them. He put them in prison all the time, right? Says, "And you owed my dad money, don't you?" "Yes, but since he died, now I owe you, William Penn. I can't pay your dad, so now I technically owe you money." And William had a great idea. He says, "Instead of money, give me land in America, and I'll take all the Quakers with me to America. I'll get them out of your hair. That way they won't be disobeying you, and you're going to get to pay back your debt that you owe my dad." And he said, "Brilliant. That's an awesome idea." And it really was. So because of William Penn, and yes, he is a Quaker, and yes, he is the icon on the Quaker Oats bottle or box or can, whatever that canister you want to call it. And because of his great idea, the king gave him land in America. And they called it Pennsylvania, which means Penn's wooded land. That's literally what Pennsylvania means, Penn's wooded land. It means the land that was given to William Penn. Isn't that awesome? And so he was able to take all of the Quakers, gather them up and say, "Guess what, guys? We're going to go on a trip and we are going to have freedom to worship the way we want." And so they did travel to America. They landed and they took ownership over the land that the king gave them. They were so kind to the Native Americans there. That's their belief, right? That they don't treat anyone worse than another person. So because of their kindness, the Indians or the Native Americans loved the Quakers. They loved them so much. And the Quakers had another belief, that it was against their beliefs to fight. They would never fight. They never owned weapons. They refused to do it. And because of that, the Indians actually became very protective of the Quakers. And they said, "You know what? If anybody tries to attack you, Quakers, we're going to defend you." And so the Quakers and the Indians actually teamed up quite a bit and became great, great friends because they respected each other. And the Native Americans would protect the Quakers from any other attacks. It was a beautiful relationship. So from this relationship, they began to build buildings. At first, they actually even just dug holes in the side of hills and lived in there because they didn't care to have riches or anything like that. They were very plain clothed, right? They didn't want riches. They just wanted freedom. And then they began to build buildings. William Penn himself designed a lot of the streets, and he separated the houses and gave them space. Because back in London, if one house caught fire, the whole row would probably catch fire as well. And so he was very wise with how he built Pennsylvania. And the main city that was built in Pennsylvania is called Philadelphia. And Phila means love. And the word Philadelphia itself, it's called the city of brotherly love. And we all know exactly why, because the Quakers were friends and they were all about loving each other. So, to wrap it all up, we have the Quakers who wanted freedom, and we have William Penn who was brilliant. He became a Quaker and he made a deal with the king to let them come over and begin the colony of Pennsylvania. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Rewatch it if you need to and take good notes.